Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are going to dive into a partnership that is so fundamental, you could say pretty much all life on Earth depends on it. It's this silent, microscopic collaboration that solves one of the biggest paradoxes in all of biology.
So here's the crazy thing that kicks this whole story off. We are literally swimming in an ocean of nitrogen gas. It makes up 78% of every breath we take. And yet, for most living things, like the plants that form the base of our entire food web, it's totally out of reach. It's kind of like dying of thirst while you're floating in the middle of the ocean. So, how can something be everywhere but also be completely useless?
To get to the bottom of that, we first have to understand the problem on a molecular level. We've got to look at the stubborn, almost antisocial nature of the nitrogen that's all around us.
Yeah, the whole problem really comes down to chemistry. See, the nitrogen in the air, what we call N2, is made of two nitrogen atoms, and they are locked together by this incredibly strong triple bond. You can think of it like a tiny little treasure chest that's been triple locked. And for almost every organism out there, there's just no key. You can breathe it in, breathe it out all day long, but your body can't crack it open to get the goods inside.
And believe me, getting into that chest is absolutely non-negotiable for life. Nitrogen is the basic building block for, well, us. It's essential for the amino acids that build proteins, and it's a critical piece of our genetic blueprint, our DNA and our RNA. Without a steady stream of nitrogen you can actually use, you just can't build or sustain life. Simple as that.
So, if that bond is so ridiculously strong, how does life get the nitrogen it needs? Well, it turns out nature, and more recently, humanity, we figured out a few ways to crack the code.
And that whole process, that chemical magic trick, it has a name: nitrogen fixation. This is the moment where that locked up N2 gas gets converted into ammonia, a form that plants can finally absorb and use. It's the biological key that finally unlocks that treasure chest.
Now, this fixation happens in a couple of ways. A tiny bit gets zapped into a usable form by lightning. Pretty cool, right? And today, we humans make a ton of it industrially for fertilizer. But the undisputed heavyweight champion, the process that does most of the work on our planet, is biological. It's carried out by trillions and trillions of tiny little microbes.
This whole biological process depends on this amazing molecular machine. But this engine, as powerful as it is, comes with a huge, almost fatal flaw.
So meet the hero of our story, an enzyme complex called nitrogenase. This is the biological tool that actually does the impossible. It snaps that triple bond. And the special microbes that have this enzyme are called diazotrophs. They're the real masters of nitrogen fixation.
But all that power, it comes at an absolutely staggering cost. To fix just one single molecule of nitrogen, this enzyme burns through at least 16 molecules of ATP, and ATP is the cell's main energy currency. This is easily one of the most energy-hungry processes in all of biology.
And here it is. Here's that fatal flaw I was talking about. Not only does nitrogenase need a massive amount of energy to run, but it is also incredibly sensitive to oxygen. The tiniest whiff, and the enzyme is instantly and permanently destroyed. It's like having a supercar that just dissolves if it starts to rain.
So how in the world does life run an engine that gets destroyed by the very air it needs to generate its fuel? The answer is just one of nature's most beautiful and elegant solutions: a brilliant partnership.
The solution is symbiosis. What happens is, certain bacteria, like the famous rhizobium, team up with host plants. You see this a lot with legumes, so think peas, beans, soy. They create this relationship that benefits both of them, and it makes a specialized, protected little bubble where nitrogen fixation can finally happen safely.
And this deal is a perfect win-win. The plant gives the bacteria two crucial things: a custom-built home right in its roots called a nodule, and a constant supply of food in the form of sugars from photosynthesis. And in return, the bacteria just work away inside that nodule, fixing nitrogen into ammonia, which is basically a perfect on-site fertilizer factory for the plant.
Okay, but how does a plant find the right bacterial partner in a soil that is just crowded with microbes? Well, it all kicks off with a very specific chemical conversation. You can think of it as a molecular handshake. All right, let's break down how this incredible dance works. First, the plant root sends out a chemical signal, releasing these things called flavonoids. The right kind of bacteria recognizes that signal,
and then sends a signal back, something called a nod factor. The nod factor basically tells the plant, hey, I'm here, and I'm a friend. In response, the plant's root hair actually curls around and traps the bacteria. Then, the plant builds a special tube, an infection thread, to guide the bacteria safely inside the root. Once inside, it triggers the plant to start building the nodule, that new little factory for fixing nitrogen. It's an unbelievably complex and beautiful process.
Okay, so they formed their partnership, they've built the factory, but we still haven't solved the main problem. How do they deal with that oxygen paradox inside the nodule?
This really is the ultimate catch-22. The bacteria need oxygen to generate the huge amount of energy they need to fix nitrogen. But that exact same oxygen destroys the enzyme that's doing all the work. It seems like an impossible situation.
So you've got this massive energy demand, right? And meeting that demand requires oxygen. But at the same time, that oxygen is completely lethal to the machine that's doing the job. How could life possibly have it both ways?
Well, nature's solution is a single ingenious molecule. The secret ingredient that makes this entire symbiotic relationship possible is called legomeglobin.
Legomeglobin plays this brilliant dual role. You can think of it as both a bodyguard and a delivery service. It protects the supersensitive nitrogenase enzyme from any free oxygen, while at the same time making sure the hard-working bacteria get just enough oxygen to keep making energy.
So how does it pull this off? Well, it's a lot like the hemoglobin that makes our blood red. In fact, legohemoglobin gives active root nodules this really distinct pinkish crimson color. Its job is to fiercely grab onto any oxygen molecules floating around. This keeps the concentration of free oxygen incredibly low, which creates a safe zone for the nitrogenase. But, and here's the clever part, because it's always moving, it delivers a high flow of that bound oxygen directly to the bacteria for respiration. It's the perfect oxygen manager. It solves the paradox completely.
When you step back and look at it, this incredible partnership has been fertilizing our planet for millions of years. It's a true masterclass in biological engineering, solving massive problems of energy, chemistry, and communication. And that leaves us with one final, really important question. As we look to build a more sustainable future, what else can we learn from this amazing alliance to create a better kind of agriculture for tomorrow?